I thought if I was working on something I loved, I'd feel complete. Work for hours, days, months, creating something that meant to bring people together. But you build it completely alone. It feels like no one sees the effort, no one understands the trade-offs, the bugs, the doubts. And it starts to feel like you're pouring your heart into something no one will ever notice. It's like screaming into a void and still trying to care about what you're yelling. If you've ever felt that, like you're doing everything right, but still feel alone, this video is for you, because we don't talk enough about the loneliness of solo game dev or any solo building for that matter. And maybe sharing what I've learned can make it a little lighter for you. The hidden side of solo building. Solo game dev almost has this kind of mythical vibe around it. The lone hero in a hoodie building their masterpiece at 2 AM on nothing but caffeine and a dream. It sounds empowering, you have full creative control and every decision is yours. But there's a cost. Every mechanic, every line of code, every level idea, it lives in your head alone. No one to bounce ideas off, no one to challenge you, no one to hype you up. You're basically arguing with yourself 24/7, second guessing, revising, rewriting. When I was designing the feedback delivery system for my game Wilderness Chef, I couldn't decide. Should the player be punished for not finishing an order in time, or should the game just act like it never happened? I debated that for days. If I even had one teammate, that would have been a 5-minute conversation. That's what solo means. Every idea, every revision, most of the time, you carry it alone. But then there's the weirdest part. When you finally win, it's quiet. You fix a bug that's been killing you for days, or you get something working perfectly. That should be a huge moment, right? No one to share with you, no one to high-five, you celebrate alone, then get right back to the next problem. I remember getting my save system working after days of bugs. I literally just said yes, alone, and then moved on. That moment should have felt incredible, but it felt empty. The work might be worth it, but you still feel that silence when there's no one to see you. You try to share with people, maybe a friend or a family member. They see a button, a sparkle, maybe a character moving. They nod politely, but they don't see the hundreds of lines of logic behind it. They can't understand the trade-offs, the bugs, the testing, the tiny details. So your proudest moment gets shrugged off with a quick, yeah, looks good. I showed off my cooking game prototype once for a few friends. Effects, states, stations, ingredient freshness. I was so proud, because I had gotten a lot done in a small amount of time. And all I heard was, yeah, looks like a cool idea. And then they were done playing. That's the gap. You see your hours of work, they see a button. Okay, maybe you think, fine, I'll share online. But social media is mostly a highlight reel. You post a cool GIF, a clip, a tweet, and then you wait. You might get a comment, a thumbs up, but then it's gone. No deep feedback, no real conversation, just a moment, then silence again. You still feel alone, because no one's in the trenches with you. It's a broadcast, not a conversation. And that can feel hollow. But if you look past the highlight reels, you can actually find a community, even just a few people, who want to go deeper and help you grow. Share something relatable, maybe a coding challenge or a behind the scenes moment from a game, and you'll be surprised who shows up to connect. That silence gets loud. You keep grinding, you keep making progress, but no one sees it. No one celebrates it. That doubt hits harder than any bug or crash you'll ever fix. You wonder if the effort is worth it. Solo dev gives you total creative power, but it also gives you total responsibility. Every win, every failure, every tiny little choice, it all lands on you. And some days that feels more like a burden than a gift. The irony of game dev. Here's what's so strange about solo game dev. You're making something for people. You want them to play, to enjoy, and to connect. But the process of making that thing, if you're doing it solo, is as lonely as it gets. It's an odd contradiction. Games are meant to bring people together, friends, communities, even strangers, but the act of creating those moments usually happens in total isolation as a solo dev. You're crafting community experiences alone. That feels backwards. Playtesting is another strange irony. You can design for players, test for fun, try to balance everything, but if you're alone, you're basically just testing in a vacuum. No one is there to spot what you missed. No one sees what feels confusing. No one laughs at the jokes or reacts to the big moments. I remember testing the food spoiler system for my game Wilderness Chef. I thought it was super intuitive, but when a friend later played it, they said, "Why is my food rotting instantly?" I'd been testing alone for so long that I couldn't even see how broken it was. That's the risk of solo dev. You get so deep in your own head, you stop seeing the experience the way a player would. Let's be honest, making a game is a dream for a lot of people. You're doing what you love, you're bringing your ideas to life. But day to day, it doesn't feel dreamy. It feels like grinding, like solving problem after problem, no sharing fans, no immediate joy, just hours of decisions and doubts. But that tiny chance of the dream happening keeps you going every day. Some days you realize you haven't talked to a real person in hours, maybe even days. It's a weird kind of creative loneliness. You're bringing worlds to life, but it still feels like you're living on an island. And then there's this. You open YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, and you see devs crushing it. Their devlogs go viral, their games blow up, and they have a following, a community. Meanwhile, you're stuck fixing a UI bug for the third night in a row. It feels like everyone else is thriving while you're drowning. Even though you know that's a highlight reel, it still hits hard. I've had days where I'd look at other devs posting polished devlog updates. Meanwhile, it felt like my game was a dumpster fire held together with duct tape. And that comparison is rough, and it feeds the loneliness even more. The irony is you are making progress, but you can't see it, because all you see is what you're missing. And then there's a gap between what you envisioned and what you're actually making. You picture this amazing experience, players having fun, big moments. But your day-to-day is spreadsheets, data structures, bug fixing, and placeholder graphics. It feels unfair almost. Like you're doing all this dull mechanical work to eventually make something magical. It takes a while to accept that the grindy, boring, unglamorous work is the price for the awesome player experiences later. If you skip the boring stuff, you never get to the fun stuff. Game dev is the art of building connection, but it usually demands that you disconnect to build it. It's a strange irony, one that hits solo devs especially hard. Why it hurts so much. Over time, that silence starts to mess with your head. If no one notices your work, you start to wonder, does it even matter? You tie your sense of worth to whether anyone is watching. I've had times where I was proud of what I built, but when no one reacted, I started doubting if I was right or if I was just bad. You start questioning everything. Your skills, your creativity, even your dreams. There's also a huge weight that comes from invisible effort. Someone might see your prototype or a short clip and think, cool game. They have no idea you spent 30 hours refactoring the inventory logic just to make sure the button works smoothly. No one celebrates that. There's no badge for clean code. There's no applause for data structures. But that's what makes the game work. I sometimes think if people saw the bugs, the hacks, and the tangled spaghetti code before I fixed it, they'd appreciate it more. But they don't. They only see the final game. All the invisible sweat you pour in stays hidden. But at the same time, that is what makes the game possible. And all of this piles up. The isolation, the silence, the unseen effort. There were days where I honestly thought about quitting. And some months I have quit. But not because I hated the work, but because I couldn't handle everything at once. That's the heartbreak of solo dev. You care so much and no one sees how much, but you will always know that you have yourself at your side. What helped me? The first thing that helped me was finding a person that actually cared. Not a giant community, not a YouTube audience, just one person that would ask, hey, how's it going? One person to send a build to. One person to look at your code or even just listen to your rant. That alone made me feel seen, and it made the process lighter. Even if they didn't understand all the technical stuff, just knowing that they were willing to hear about it made a difference. Those tiny bits of connection, they break through the isolation. Another thing that helped me was making my work public. Not because I wanted a bunch of views and likes, but because I wanted it to feel real. When you post your progress, you make it count. It's not just stuck on your hard drive, it becomes something you share, something people can see. Even if only 5 people watch or see it, that's 5 people who see you, who see what you're building. A devlog on YouTube or Discord, a tweet, a TikTok, and sometimes that's enough to keep going. One of the biggest shifts for me was thinking in rituals, not just goals. Goals are great. Finish the level, fix the bug, but they're far away. Rituals happen every day. Every morning, every afternoon, every evening. A ritual could be as simple as showing up every morning, or playtesting one evening with a friend. Those small habits build a sense of momentum and make progress feel real. For me, it was journaling every night, writing what I did, what I struggled with, and one thing I was really proud of. When you see your progress written down, You remember you're moving forward. For me, success used to mean release a hit game, get 1,000 downloads, go viral. But that mindset kills you when you're working solo, because those things are outside your control and they take forever. I started redefining success as progress. If I made one part of my game better today, that was success. That mindset switch was huge. Suddenly, every day felt like a win, even the small ones. The last thing that helped me was accepting the loneliness. Solo dev is usually lonely, but that doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. There's a calm that comes with knowing this is just part of the journey. You can find ways to soften it, but you don't have to fear it. Over time, you realize that loneliness doesn't define you. It just means that you care deeply enough about something that you keep going. And that's powerful. If you're building something right now and you feel alone, you're not the only one. Solo game dev can feel like the quietest, most invisible work in the world. You build worlds for others, but no one is there to see you build them. That feels unfair, it feels heavy, and it hurts. It doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you're brave enough to chase something that most people won't. You're choosing to create instead of just consume. You're showing up for your ideas. So if you feel alone right now, drop a comment. Let me know what you're working on. And maybe we're not as alone as we think. Keep building. We need you.